Hello Maplers, welcome to this video and welcome to this new channel. I guess before I start, let me introduce myself a little bit. I am Shun from GMS Scania server, and I am a level 270 Oran Ming who's also focused heavily on leveling up my Legion. I played the game casually for quite a few years, and then it's about 2 years ago when quarantine first started, I switched from like a casual to more a hardcore player, and then eventually until now, my Orang is 270 and halfway into Liberation, and my Legion is currently at 8739, which is number 5th in Scania ranking board in terms of Legion levels. And unlike a lot of other people or a lot of other players in Scania, I know in Reboot, a lot of people build bossing mules for their account to just earn Meso for Reboot. But in Scania and like probably even other rec servers, a lot of players only focus on one specific character for their account, and I play it a little bit differently. I have my main, and I do have quite a few quote unquote boss mules or even second mains through the time I played. And why I keep saying boss mules? Because recently there is the removal of 2x drop card and kind of kill the Meso farming in Rec server. And also, there's this event called Tactical Relay coming in about 2 weeks from when I'm recording right now, which require to defeat any difficulty of Lotus alone on 3 different characters. And therefore, recently I've been hearing my friends or my other people in my guild in the Discord just specifically talking about boss mules as like a term in general, or specifically a normal Lotus boss mule. And therefore, because I'm more relatively experienced in this category, I decided to build a new character for this with relatively minimum stats. And this is why you are watching this video about my wing archer. But I'm not going to talk about too much about the wing archer as a class specifically. I want this video to be more a general guide of how I found this character to normal Lotus. So starting, this character now has 13k stats, and I actually did already solo Lotus already. The run will be in a different video that I'll probably post later today or the day after. And so I guess we'll start with the gears. It actually didn't take me that much like resources at all. All my gears were relatively free to play, I'll say. There's the Black Earring, the Treasure Hunter John Ring, the Noble Iffy Ring, Silver Blossom. These are the 4 rings. I didn't go with any Golux items on this character just to save budget, because ultimately the goal for Boss Mule is to make more money. And then a decent Flame Piccoli Cup. There is a second pendant slot opened, but the entire time I was wearing my Pendant of Spirit for training, and I moved it to a different character now because of haste. And then I guess for like a lot of other players who might be building boss mules, you probably don't want to maintain the second pendant slot using reward points every single month, and that could add up because most players probably don't have the permanent pendant slot, so they will probably put the pendant slot expansion on their main. Therefore, I built this to specifically not worry about the second pendant slot and trying to show it's without it's still doable for Lotus. And the pendant, I'm going for a Chaos Horntail necklace. However, ideally, I'll say the cheapest option is actually a fake Dominator pendant from either relay events or terror burning events, and that Dominator pendant is much better than the Chaos Winter pendant, because the Dami come with natural 15-star, unique with 2-line stats, and a 6% crit rate, which crit rate is actually a very important source on these boss mules, that I will specifically talk about later. And however, neither of those events are around right now, so the only thing I can do is rock with the Chaos Wintel for the boss accessory set, which is fun. Then there's my Arcane Umbra Bowl. The Arcane weapon nowadays, it's very cheap, or at least in Scania market. Almost all the Arcane weapon are under 100 mil, with the only exception being like Kana Fan and maybe Adele's Bladecaster. Like, I'm pretty sure Cling, like for this bowl, Cling is around probably at most 20 to 30 mil, maybe even less, honestly. Like, some of them are even ridiculously cheap, like Xenon's Energy Sword is 2 mil. So, for a boss mule, it's okay to just fund arcane weapons to these characters. Arcane weapon does come with way higher base attack, therefore it gets way higher flames from the attack, and so on and so forth. And then my Pink Pink Bell, it's okay. The Absol set was okay flame. I'll talk about like the scrolling Star Force flame and potential in a bit. Zakum Face and Eye, the CRA set, well, for top and bottom, there's decent flame scores. The rest of the Absol, and also the earring. The Android is usually during an event, there will be those like Walkie-Roid or whatever random Android in the event shop. And those are actually a very good, cheap alternative for these boss mules. Because Wanderer event is like once few years, and so it's kind of hard to guarantee a Wanderer heart in those characters. But usually during an event, like the past event, the Choo Choo Festival, there was Android, there was the Mudoroid, the coupon in the event shop, which take like I think 1,000 or 1,500 coins. And those Android combo is a permanent Lydian heart. For me, I just have a good amount of these level 30 perma Lydian heart stockpiled from like either Marvel or Philobook, or just I bought them from auction house on my mule. So I have a good amount of these to have. But most of the time, like just go with whatever in the event shop. Even you don't have it, it's not too big of a stat loss from the hearts, and so if anything, just don't worry about it if it's not available to you. And secondary emblem are also just nothing too special. Good 2-line epic, and then with a line of B-pop, then that's it. I'm MVP red, so I have this medal on all my character. And then Besting Slot badge. Well, for most people, probably don't have a potable badge, so just go with the Crystal Ventus. But with the Crystal Ventus, it's actually possible to complete nice set for the boss accessory set, which essentially means this badge gives 10% boss damage, which is also nice. The totem wise, I have these tradable totem from a while ago. However, most people, you can go with the Afterlands totem. These totem, like this quest line, takes about an hour to an hour and a half. I've done it for at least 10 times on my whole account. If you want a guide, just YouTube Afterlands. You probably should be able to find other YouTubers, the guides to the Steam dungeon. But finishing this Steam dungeon give you all 4 totem, but you only need to equip 3 of them. 3 of them give you about 20 main stat, 20 secondary stat, and then 31 attack, which if you calculate everything into stats, it's about the same as these two totems that I put here together. It's relatively similar. That's why I was just like, normally if you need totem, just go do Afterlands, but for me, I just put these two on as like an equivalent, so I don't have to really go through the dungeon at all. Went a little bit lazy. But that's pretty much it for the gears, like how I got them. The Treasure Hunter genre is from NLC quests. You only need to do the first 3 kill quests for like 500 mobs total in 3 different maps, and you get a coin to buy this ring. It's one of the few potable rings. If Event Rings isn't around, or if you don't want to fund like a Golem ring into it. And then the Noble Ifrit ring is from Long Liang and then Rose Garden questline, which I preluded the drops on my main. And so therefore the whole quest line didn't take long. It was like 30 minutes at most, so it wasn't too bad. And other gears, let me see. My Absol set, I bought the clean one from auction house. Right now, or like a week prior to today, when I'm recording, Marvel was here. So there were actually a good amount of clean Absols being rolled from Marvel and being selling in auction house. Therefore, I think I paid around like what probably 600 mil, 700 mil total for just the clean Absols, or even including the Black A ring. I think those were the total costs for these couple gears clean. And flame wise, I use what's called the red flame from the Legion shop to rework on the flames to get like okay stats on it. So these are the Absols, and then the CRA pieces, I repeatedly open the CRA boxes from my main and get like a decent flame, or just fusing during the middle and eventually get a decent flame and just work on it. The other box accessory, since I've been doing the Zakun and the Horntail and Pink Bing every single day, I have a good amount of these stockpiled with decent flame. And even these are in auction house, they don't cost too much with like a good flame, like this one, like 448. It didn't cost much at all. So that's how these accessories. And then that's pretty much how I got these gears. And then trace wise, I 70% every single thing during a trace fever. So everything passed, and the very few fail slots were because of the golden hammer 50% failed, which honestly I don't even care that much. And Star Force wise, they're normally I'll keep them all at 10 star, but there was a 1+1, like the 2-star under 10 event recently, like last weekend. So I tapped every single thing to 12 star, and the weapon from 10 to 15. For this weapon, it was actually relatively unlucky session, and so it took probably a little bit more than it should in average, which I also do have all the Meso relatively tracked. I'll talk about it later. So that's for the Star Force. Flame, I mentioned the Flame. Then potential-wise, potential is interesting. Like obviously, I don't have that many epic potential scrolls stockpiled. That actually, that's actually expensive if you want to buy all of them in auction house. The way I did was spam occult cubes. Occult cubes has about 1% tier up rate, if I remember correct, which so average you get a tier up for every 100 cubes. And sometimes it can take more. Sometimes I've had a time where it tier up on the first cube. And then for anyone who is not really familiar, occult cubes on level 121 or plus item take quite a bit of Meso per reroll. This one is like 450k Meso per reroll. So just 10 occult cube roll will take you 4.5 mil already. And these can stockpile up. But if occult cube on an item that's 120 or lower, it's way cheaper to review the potential. So a common strategy I used that most like reboot player probably more familiar is transfer hammer. Long story short, let me show you. For example, this is my noble Iffy ring as like a transfer fodder for the potential that I want to get the same potential to a treasure hunter genre. Assume this is clean. So look at the potential here. It's 6-3 Dex with 3% MP, and the treasure hunter genre will also get the same potential after transferring by just having one less star during the process. And then this is essentially how I get the epic potential, or the ideal epic potential to the 121 plus gear that I want. Things being here like the treasure hunter genre, I worked on 2 noble Ifia and then transfer through like a silver blossom into noble Ifia into treasure hunter genre. The bell and the earring, I use crack and solid Golux earring and bell as fodders. Just cube the crack into 9% and transfer it up to the target ones. And CRAs went from Necromancer to Von Liang armor, and then to either Pencilier or Empress, and then to the CRA. Then Absol ones are similar to CRA, just went from Necromancer to Von Liang to Empress or Empress or Pencilier, and then to the Sengoku set, the Japanese set, that's 150. You can get a good amount of them from just one run of Haramaru, and then go from the Sengoku one to Absolab. The very few exceptions are the weapon, the shoulder, and the cape. Weapon, because I use an arcane. If you use an Absol, then you can obviously do the same thing with other Absols. But arcane weapon is level 200, so transfer hammer doesn't apply since there's no level 170 to level 190 gears. So for the weapon, I just epic pot it. Spam master queues that I got from either bossing on my main, or I bought service from my friends who got it from party bosses, and then eventually roll like a decent unique climb and kept it. And then the shoulder is a special case. There is level 120 shoulder, being the one that you get from the Magnus shoulder, but there isn't level 130 shoulder existing in the game. It's existing in the file from like years ago, but that's not accessible. So for shoulder, I just epic potted and then rolled with higher cost. It took a couple, like probably 50 mil or something. And then the cape is also a similar case. There is level 130 cape, being Von Liang, 140 being Pencilier and Empress, 150 being Sengoku, but there isn't really a cheap 120 cape. Level 120 cape exists as Blackgate cape, which the cost of that is a little bit unnecessarily higher for transfer, because well, we use a transfer hammer to save costs. So what I did, just I bought a epic Pencilier cape from auction house, which kind of saved money from the epic potential scrolls, and then rolled on the Pencilier, tried to get 2 line of decks. I was just unlucky and lucky. I rolled a 3-line dex before I even see a 2-line dex, so I just transferred the 3-line into the Absol cape. I think this is the only piece that has like 3-line decks, and then everything else were just like 2-line means that some of them are like this one has another 12. So that's pretty much it. And then similar case for like secondary emblem, just because they're level 100, just spam them from rare until they tier up to epic, and then roll for like decent 2 lines, either attack plus damage. Like best one is double attack 6-3, attack damage with 6 attack 3 damage. I can settle with it. And then if it's a 6 attack with 15 IED, that's also good to keep, because IED is a relatively rare source on these boss mules. And then specifically for the WSE, I worked on the B-Pop. I used the B-Pop scrolls and then rolled for prime line attack. because attack percent is a very good resources for the damage. And I think every other gears, like except these two, which I think will probably just naturally come with the 2% dex that I transferred. Everything else, I didn't even work on the B pot at all. So kind of save a little bit cost to do it. And then symbol wise, they're like probably what 3 days of daily, and then the rest of it just from the pre-quest during Reverse City and then Yum Yum Island. So that's pretty much it for all the gears. And then pets. Oh, my pets expired. They died. So the pets, Wonderberry pets are usually around here every 2 months, and these pets are usually last for 2 months after they're opened. And these pets cost in Scania market, it costs about like 10 to 20 mil each. So overall, it doesn't take that much money at all. And they come with 2 buff slot, so it just doesn't come with an auto heal, but this is good enough. For the 3 slots for the pets, normally if you are one of those players who only focus on your main, you probably have a good amount of reward points that you also didn't buy the pet snack in the reward point shop every month, which essentially that's just a free way to open these 3, and you technically get 1 every month. So if you want to build a boss mule every month, and you will all get you'll get 3 slots for the pets on all the characters. And that's pretty much it for. And then I don't even renew these once they expire. Once they expire, I just wait until the next rotation of Wonderberry and just buy it again. So that's it. Inner ability, I got lucky. I rolled my first line, which is for Wing Archer, 20% boss. The second and third line, I obviously don't have more inner to even roll anything, so I just let it sit there for whatever they landed on. Hyper stats. This right now is my current what's called bossing setup. So you see, I have very high in IED and then everything else. When I was training, I was focused heavily into the arcing force because I didn't do that many days for the simple dailies, so I needed as many boosts for the arcing power as possible for me to 1-shot or at least guarantee 2-shot in those arcing river maps for like the weaker attacks, like the small arrows from wing archers. So that's the stats. And then for V Matrix, alright, let's talk about links first. Links, I don't usually take off links from my main, so whatever links here are more just the leftovers that I'm not using currently on my main. But I do have, like, for example, like this arc, I do have 2 level 210 plus arc, so this character is lucky enough to get a level 3 arc link. But most of them are just like decent links, but they're usually not being used because they're not the best in slot, or it's just the duplicates I have. Like, I made a level 120 Demon Avenger, and then I have my second Conoformer. So yeah, it's these. The Mihao link is very needed now for if you are playing a class that doesn't have naturally 100% stance. And then Mihao link can also be tossed onto the pet, so that's also pretty good. The Curry link is also very needed because Curry, as I said, is a very, very limited source on boss mules, especially like your main could still be using the Phantom link for some classes who doesn't have high base crit rates. And that's and another source that's really needed is IED, which that's also why I have my Lumi link here for IED boost. But as you see now, I'm still only 89. I'll talk about how I fixed this one in a bit. And then there's the V Matrix. I bought exactly 1,000 no stone in auction house. That's one of the big costs I spend on this character, along with like 15 starter weapon and buy the clean gears. Nodes are arguably one of the most important thing after fist shot. It gives you maybe even the most damage boost compared to other like gears or potentials or anything. Then with exactly 1000 no stone, I was lucky enough I find my 2 pair of trinodes and actually had just enough to level them to max 25. And then I barely have any extra. I just dump the rest into Holy Symbol, and meanwhile, I'll just like level up all the ones I opened. I guess I got lucky with quite a few Merciless Winds, so this one specifically level 14. I didn't craft any of them, I just opened that many for this one. And then if you watch another, the videos from another famous YouTuber from April, Sacrix, you probably heard him talking about how important Holy Symbol is. It is, but specifically for him, he's leveling everything to 250. That means he's spending like 40, 50, maybe even more hours on the character. That's why in the long term, Holy Symbol gonna benefit more. However, for a level 220 character, overall my training time, just the training time, is probably like 4 hours at most, which is nearly nothing compared to him. And therefore, Holy Symbol isn't that like, or leveling up Holy Symbol isn't as important as like his situation. If I only need to level it for like 4 hours at most. But the damage for the boost nodes is more needed because it guarantees me one shot in the better maps with higher levels, and also guarantee me killing the boss faster because it's ultimately a boss mule. It's not a Legion level mule for his situation. So that's why my Holy Symbol is just at the low level of, like, after I finish my boost nodes, I dump all the rest into Holy Symbol, but it wasn't that many left. So this Holy Symbol only stopped at level 7, which is still enough. Like, just having a Holy Symbol is already good enough compared to not having it. And then that's pretty much it for our nodes. And then talking about Curry and IED. Curry is needed for a lot of classes. Because on like a mule, you most likely won't be able to roll a Curry inner on the on like a mule because the limited amount of honor EXP, and therefore, like what I did, I focused heavily on my monster life on my farm to get all the curry mobs as I can, because it technically gave me 15% curry on all my characters after I finish it, and so as some of the IED ones that I've still been currently working on. I think I'm still missing one more. These are ultimately a very beneficial thing to have for your account, but if you don't feel like doing it, I don't blame you. It is annoying. It is a relatively more long-term project. But if you feel like you've done every other content in the game and you feel like, well, maybe give Monster Life a look, you just YouTube any of the guides on Monster Life, and then maybe grind some gems of doing an event, and then that will be it. That's ultimately, if you do it, it's a beneficial thing for the account. And also because this character is specifically an archer, so I began Vicious Shot existing despite even its low level, so I'm like overfunded for the crit rate. I think after Vicious Shot I'm like 117 crit rate, which is it's not that high, but it's good enough as a burst. And then IED wise, 89% as the visual one you see now is low, is honestly a little bit too low for Lotus. A way to fix it is using the familiar system that GMS has. I have 15% IED lines on the familiar, which after I pop my familiar, I'll go to 93.24. This is like a good amount needed for Lotus now. But how to get 3 slots for like what's the efficient way to get these lines? First of all, the familiar badges. I'm those players who hoard everything. So whenever I do dailies, either the spark days or symbol days on my mule, I just hoard the Arcane River familiar drop, and I actually send them into storage and eventually toss them on one of my specific character for all the familiars. So I have these 5 already stockpiled for familiar badges from Arcane River. If you starting today, you feel like maybe it's time to save these. Eventually, you're gonna build a good library for these familiars to use anytime you need to. And then for the other 5, I worked on starter badge from Lith Harbor, Oppressor, and Rebel. Like Oppressor is actually part of Rebel from the early level of Edelstein, the Edelstein Mine badge, and then Lying badge from Wangliang Castle. What I did was I pop a wild totem on my main and put on as many drop gears as I can, and went to farm these familiars. It overall took me like probably 30 minutes at most. I think it took me like close to 40 minutes because I was also farming. I was farming 2 sets for 2 characters, like two of each of familiar, and that overall took me 40 minutes. And remember, I said for the Wangliang quest, I pre-looted all the drops needed for the pre-quest. Yeah, I did that during the same time I was farming the familiars. so yeah, that's what I did. Overall, it didn't take that long. For reboot players, like Wild Totem is very limited, very finite resources that has to be planned to use well for their progression in the game. But for rec server, Wild Totem is arguably just being ignored due to the existence of Frenzy Totem. Frenzy service is very cheap right now because of the 2x drop removal. I think in Scania price, it's about 40 to 50 mil per hour, which is nearly nothing. This character with no item and then barely any Meso drop rate can loot about 40 mil an hour. So essentially, I will be paying nothing on the Frenzy. And because of that, Wild Totem in Rec server, like a lot of people probably barely never ever touch the Wild Totem in their reward point shop. So I do abuse the Wild Totem for like these ones, just to either farm the familiar badges, or later when I'm talking about training rotation, you will hear me saying like I use those Wild Totem for pre-quest prep up. So that's how the familiar badges. With 10 badges, I can open 3 slots, and after that, I just toss like I think about 3 to maybe 4 stack of common and just review every single one of them. And eventually got me 15% familiar, was just probably like what 3 to 400 common familiar, which in if you go with the 1514 ones in auction house, I think they take like what 2-3 mil each stack, which is just nothing at the end. And then also during the meantime, I got like a line of Meso drop, a line of item drop. So it's a little bit extra for me while I'm farming, while I'm leveling. Just get a little bit more Meso. But it won't. It's the item and the Meso are not needed. Just the IED ones are the most important ones you should be looking for, because mules are really lack of IED source. When everything is like epic at most. So that's pretty much the character so far. Let me see, did I miss anything? I did track all my Meso. About 2 weeks ago, I started this plan, or I started prep for this plan, and I tossed exactly 5 bill Meso into this character. And I've been spending all the Meso for things, like I said, all the clean Absol piece plus the Black Gate ring took like 600-700 mil. Star forcing this weapon specifically from 10 to 15 took probably like another 700-800 mil, I think, which is a little bit higher than average if I remember correct. And then 1,000 boost nodes in Scania prices when I bought it took like another 800 mil. So those together is like probably 2 bill something already. And then after that, there are the small costs of start forcing everything to 10 and to 12. The spell trace cost for 70%, even just 70%, everything took like what 2-3 stack of them. And then a little bit of a flame session for the Absol because I bought them clean with either no flame or just terrible flames. And I think these are the only gears I flame because CRA I just open the boxes so they're free. These accessories I just been saving them if I get a good flame drop. And then there's also a little bit of cubing review fee for specifically weapon, shoulder, and cape. So that's a bit. If you have level 100 insight on your main, you can just cube or the level 120 or lower on your main, because level 100 insight, the cubing for level 120 or lower are free. So that's a thing. Oh, and then off event to open the charm to get level 30 charm to open the slot is actually a little bit hard. Because there isn't like a trade boost potion existing when I was doing this. I think when I started, I've already claimed the day 13 trade increase potion from the previous months, so that wasn't available to me. What I did eventually was start my professions, get herbalism, get alchemy to level 5, so I can fuse level 120 or level 130 or below gears at level 5 of alchemy. And by having that, I was able to I bought a good amount of like crack Golux earring and crack Golux belt. Each of them give you 100 charm EXP when you equip it. And I equip all of them and then fuse the ones I equipped, and they become a new item and reset the charm EXP, and I just repeat doing that until I get level 30 charm. That took me about like 2 days to do it just because the fatigue system. But that's how I got to level 30 charm without having a trade boost potion around from the events. And then during the meanwhile, when I was farming the materials that I need to level up the alchemy, I got like a good amount of rose clippings, so I didn't even have to worry about that. So yeah, that's how I got to the pocket slot. And then let me think what other costs I spend. Was like the BPOS scroll for the WSE took a few of them. The BPOS cube to reveal the WSE took a few of them, quite a bit. And then the epic pots for like the shoulder and the weapon took some Meso. The symbol leveling up the fee took a bit. And then leveling wise, there's like MVP costs, the cash up 2x EXP coupon cost, and then frenzy service cost. Those small things all adds up together, and then overall, I spent about 3.5 bill, and then that's pretty much the total cost of this character in terms of Mesos that I spend. And then for leveling, if you are a big fan of Sacrix, you probably watch a good amount of video. Just like me, I've watched all his video, all his training guides, and Wing Archer is also one of the class that he really liked about. And I use a lot of them. I use a lot of his training guides as well for the levels I go. From 200 to 205. Let me think. Well, mainly, or I should say 202 to 205, because after the pre-quest, it's pretty much 202. Below the cave and then Eastern Cave Pass 2, they both work, but I prefer the Hidden Fire Zone. It's an okay map. It's like okay size. I didn't even get frenzy service here, if I remember correct. Because I pop a wild totem, to do the Arcing River, the VJ pre-quest. And then meanwhile the Wild Totem's still here. I just pop the Wild Totem. I don't even remember exactly my rotation is because it was just like probably 20 minutes from like 202 to 205. And then after I get to 205, use the rest of the Wild Totem for Reverse City pre-quest line. And that's pretty much it for the beginning. And then the real training session started when I get to Reverse City in Hidden Underground Train. I know Sacrix is a big fan of Hidden Research Train, but I'm a big fan of this one. So the general rotation is like, let me kill some mobs to get loose. So a general idea is for most class, your main mobbing skill after 5th job should be able to double plat while you're at the bottom. And then with a Luciso, you can just put Luciso on the top left corner. And Luciso will probably, well, I wasn't as buff as when I'm training because I do also use like skill while I'm training. So my Luciso should at least two-shot the mobs on the top left. And whenever I pass by in the middle, well, while I was jump attacking in the middle, I just toss whatever AoEs that can kill the mobs on the top. And essentially just being jump attack at the bottom, and then under frenzy spawn, and that was that's just how the map is, and that works for quite a few classes in the game that can all just do this kind of rotations. And then I did BA for like specifically while I was training. My battle analysis showed me about slightly over a bill per minute in this map, which translate to 30 minutes from 205 to 210 and about an hour from 210 to 215. And so yeah, I bought only like 1.5 hour frenzy service when I got here, and after an hour and a half, I went from 205 all the way to 215. And then at 215, I pop another Wild Totem, do the pre-quest for both Choo Choo and Yum Yum, and after I done the Yum Yum pre-quest line, I do the dailies for both Choo Choo and then Reverse City while the totem is still here to get a little bit more levels on the symbols. And once I get to Yum Yum, I go to the Hidden Alien Field. This is arguably just one of the best map in the early stage of Choo Choo or early stage of Arcing River. Right now, I don't even have the requirement for the Arcing because naturally I'll be having 70 more to get to 210 Arcing power. 210 is the bare minimum to hit 1.1% damage increase in this map because the requirement is 190. When there's an event with temp stats around, like the previous one from the previous patch, the Choo Choo Festival, give out 40 bonus Arcing power boost, and also, or maybe like this is a Terror Burning character with the Terror Burning title from before that can give like a 30 Arcing power boost. With those together, it's actually possible to just reach the 1.5 damage boost in the map, which at that point it will guarantee you one shot almost everything. But this character is a little bit more like funded than my regular Legion level mules. So even with 1.1, I was able to one shot was my main attacking skill, and then two shot was like either Lucis Soul and my small other projectile things. Well, obviously with the help of Gil skill that I rotate both of them. So, and then my BA was showing me about like over one bill per minute. I don't remember the exact number, but overall it took me another hour and 30 from 215 to 220 in Hidden Alien Field. And so the total amount of training I did was just about like 3.5 hours, then plus whatever time I spent on pre-quests. That's the total amount of the time I like train, I farm, I mobbed on the character. Which in the future gonna be even shorter because during Destiny patch, they will be adding a storage skip function for pre-quests for Arcane Rivers. Therefore, as long as your main has done the pre-quest for those areas, you will not need, you can just skip all of them and still get a reward, get a symbol to progress. So in the future, it's probably even possible to just buy a 4-hour card from Cash Shop and just go through 200 all the way to 220 within 4 hours. I can see that happening, and I think I will be doing that in the future. And there are some other maps that's good that I've trained before on a different class. Like if I remember correct, my Mechanic and my Night Lord went from 205 to 210 in either Hidden Underground or Hidden Research. And then from 210, I actually go to Slurpee. Slurpee for some of the classes is still good if you can full clear it, but that's more like a class specific thing that I learned from like watching Sacrix video. And I think mainly because especially Mechanic and Night Lord, who focus on the small projectiles to deal damage, they probably not able to one-shot in Hidden Iliad Field. So Hidden Iliad Field is a little bit need to have a little bit more funding for those characters, which I didn't have it at that point. So Slurpee was actually just the best area for those characters. And I think on those characters, it took me 30 minutes from 205 to 210 in one of the hidden map in Reversity, and then about like another 2 hour ish for 210 all the way to like 218 to 19, and then I think I just potioned the rest of them to like 220. That was my rotation for those classes who can use Slurpee Force. And then I stopped at 221 because I realized I don't really need to level the character anymore. But based on how my BA and the calculation shows, from 200 to like 220 to 225 in Slurpee Force, it's probably gonna take like another, I will say another 4 hours will be enough to 225 in Hidden Iliad. And then some people might question why I just don't mention in Latch when Latch do have like arguably good maps in terms of like Outlaw Street 2 or Rev 3. You see, Outlaw Street Latch right now specifically, the pre-quest is a lot longer than all the pre-quests in like earlier Arcane River areas. Latch quest is gonna take you about an hour at least. And without a story skip, I don't really feel like going there just for like a slightly increase of rate in this area. And despite Hidden Iliad is already good. The other issue is Outlaw Street is the same requirement for Hidden Iliad. Rev 3 has even a higher arcane requirement. In order to get 1.5 in Rev 3, it requires like 315 to be possible. 315 is arguably impossible to get because I don't transfer symbols. I just leveling them up like naturally with like a day or two of dailies, and then maybe sometimes get the event bonus, from temp stats, or just use the coins I farm to get more symbols from the event shop. But even with those, if I want to finish the character within like 2-3 days of training, Rev 3's requirement is very hard to get. But if you want to take it slowly and you actually did dailies for like maybe longer than a week, then Rev 3 is accessible. So that's just me. The good thing is training at Rev 3 does give you more chance of getting droplets. So that could be beneficial. More beneficial than staying at Hidden Iliad. But for me, I just don't really care too much. I just stayed where I wanted. I just stayed at the easier area and not worry about more pre-quests. So that's what I did. Eventually in the future, when the story skip is here, I think I will give a try for the latch areas at like 220 something, I will say. Usually for my route, when I get to 225 hidden Iliad, I just pop another wild totem and go through both Latch and Arcana prequests at the same time. So I guess that's being a thing for the prequests of how for now. And so that will be it. That's all the training guides for for Lotus Boss Mule specifically. Let me see. I actually soloed normal Lotus in a practice mode when I was only 216, and I just got to 220 just to open the last node slot to show everything, and overall, big shout out to Sacrix for providing all the training guides. That's actually really helpful. I watch all of them. I'll put the link to his channel into the description if anyone also interested in his content. And then for bosses in general, I already recorded the Lotus Run and I'll be uploaded soon. And then for now, there's still prequests for like the other bosses for example the PB and Aquarium. They still have prequests. I haven't unlocked them. As a boss mule, ideally I want to unlock them to be able to do them like at least weekly for the Meso. And then, however, this is gonna be improved in the future during Destiny, during the summer patch, because not only the store skip, including Arcane River prequest, it also include the prequest for these bosses. If you have done it on your main, you will unlock these as well to do the bosses, just like Lotus and Damien from the blockbuster. So that will be it. And overall, this character took me like 3.5 bill Meso and about like a week of prepping, because I was also working on like Yeti and PB at the same time, and another like slightly under a week of training. I recommend if you're doing this, try to get into like a guild if possible. Just if the guild like you are currently in is okay with that, because a guild can give you the Arcane Force boost and also access to guild skill, because these are definitely needed for some of the area if you have like a relatively limited funding to mob there. But obviously, leave the guild once you're done, or do other things. Just make sure your guild leader or the juniors are okay with everything. And then that's pretty much it for the whole character. Overall, I think as a Lomian Boss Mule, I can get about to like 300 mil something a week if I able to do all the weekly bosses at the same time with some of the dailies. And so that will be the amount of income. And then I guess that's pretty much it for this Lotus Boss Mule. If anyone really have any feedbacks, any questions, feel free to comment down below in the comment section. I will respond to them as soon as I'm able to. And then I hope like Haze is still currently here. If anyone really want to watch the video, want to get the opportunity to build one really quick, feel free to do so. Haze is actually a very good time to train in general. And then obviously, if you don't mind funding even more on these characters, you can make the Lotus Run even faster and even easier. I just went for the minimum pretty much to demonstrate what's the minimum requirement needed. And then also, I think another one of my mule was 2-line unique everything for all the gear after I just either farm MCCs or bought MCC service with like a superior or Golok sets. And that character will result around like, I think, early 20, like between 20 to 25k range. And that was enough to do normal slime, and maybe like normal slime easily actually. And I think it's even possible to do easy lucid once I get enough arcane symbols on it. So that's another like funding because this character is all epic and can do Lotus. If you get everything to unique, you can get to easy lose set. So that's if anyone interested, I can maybe eventually make another video talk about that as well. So that's pretty much it for this video. Hope everyone having a good time for a tactical relay. I know a lot of people are trying to push for that chair for the Lotus Run, and some of them are even thinking about p-socking gears from their main to other mules to do that. But honestly, these doesn't take too much time. Doesn't take too much Meso to go as far. The Lotus Run for me was 22 minutes. It's probably a little bit too long for other people, but if you will to do so, just fund even more on like WSC or some of the armor pieces get them to unique, it will be easier. And then that will be it. If you like the video, you think this is helpful for your progression for your account, feel free to like the video and then subscribe to the channel, and maybe even share the link to other friends that you are, like your guild, Discord, other places that you are also working with, you're playing with. And then I hope to see everyone in the next video. And then see ya!